Welcome to the Retirement Wealth Podcast. We're so glad you're joining us today. If you're navigating the waters of retirement planning, you're in the right place.
Absolutely, Emily. Today, we're diving into a topic that can really impact many people's retirement: Social Security benefits for divorced individuals. It's a crucial area that, surprisingly, doesn't get as much attention as it should.
Right. It's something that can be a little confusing, but understanding it can make a big difference in your financial security. We'll break down how divorced individuals can maximize their Social Security benefits and what the eligibility criteria are.
And we'll also touch on how these benefits can fit into your overall retirement plan. There are some common misconceptions out there that we can clear up.
For sure. Plus, we'll share some tips on how to strategize your benefits if you're recently divorced or even if you've been divorced for a while.
Exactly. And it's really about making the most of what you've earned. So whether you're planning for retirement or already enjoying it, this information is vital.
Let's get started by exploring the basics of Social Security benefits. It's important to know what you're entitled to, especially after a divorce.
Right. So let's dive in. What's the first thing we should look at? So Emily, when we talk about Social Security benefits, especially for divorced individuals, it's really important to highlight why this is such a crucial topic right now.
Absolutely, David. With so many people nearing retirement age, understanding how Social Security works can make a significant difference in their overall financial strategy, right?
Exactly. And, with inflation being such a hot topic these days, many people are feeling the pinch. They're worried about their purchasing power in retirement. Social Security can actually help to cushion that impact.
Right, because it's indexed to inflation, isn't it? So, those annual cost of living adjustments can help keep pace with rising prices.
Yes, and that's especially relevant for divorced individuals who might be relying on that benefit as a significant part of their retirement income. I've seen clients who thought they'd be okay, but then they realized their expenses were outpacing their income.
Yeah, and with the current economic climate, market volatility can add another layer of anxiety. People are questioning their investments and how stable their retirement fund really is.
Exactly. And that's why having a solid understanding of Social Security options is more important than ever. It can provide a level of certainty in a time of uncertainty.
I remember a client of mine, let's call her Linda. She was divorced after a 30-year marriage and didn't realize she could claim benefits based on her ex-husband's work record. She was shocked to discover that it could increase her monthly income significantly.
That's a great example. Many people don't realize that if you are married for at least 10 years, you can access those benefits. And for someone like Linda, that can make a world of difference, especially when retirement plans are being shaken up by economic changes.
Exactly. And let's not forget about healthcare costs. They continue to rise, and it's a big concern for retirees. Social Security can help cover some of those expenses, but it's often not enough on its own.
Right. A lot of folks have to think about supplemental insurance and out-of-pocket costs, which can be a huge burden. So knowing how to maximize Social Security benefits is critical to managing those healthcare expenses.
And speaking of maximizing benefits, there are strategies that can help divorced individuals optimize their Social Security. Like, for instance, timing their claims.
Yes, timing is key. If you wait until your full retirement age, or even until age 70, you could significantly increase your monthly benefit. But not everyone can afford to wait.
Exactly, and it's a balancing act. Some people might need to take their benefits earlier, especially if they're facing financial pressures.
That's so true. And the emotional side of financial security cannot be overstated. People want to feel safe and secure in their retirement years, and having a solid understanding of their Social Security benefits can alleviate a lot of stress.
Yeah, I can only imagine how comforting it must be for someone like Linda to know she has that additional income stream. It can really change the narrative around retirement planning.
Definitely. And it's not just about the numbers, it's about peace of mind. When you feel confident that you have a stable financial foundation, it allows you to enjoy life more fully.
And legacy planning comes into play here too. Many retirees want to leave something behind for their children or grandchildren. If they have a clear understanding of their Social Security benefits, they can plan better for how those funds fit into their overall legacy goals.
Absolutely. Social Security can play a role in that legacy, especially if someone passes away and their spouse or children can claim survivor benefits. It's crucial to educate yourself on those options.
And with all these changes happening, like potential adjustments to the Social Security system, it feels more urgent than ever for people to get informed.
Exactly. We've seen discussions around reforms, and it's essential that individuals stay updated on how those changes might affect their benefits down the line.
And all of this ties back to the importance of holistic planning, right? You can't just look at Social Security in a vacuum. It has to be part of a broader financial strategy.
Well said. Integrating Social Security into a comprehensive retirement plan can help individuals navigate these current economic trends more effectively.
Plus, it's about being proactive rather than reactive. The more informed you are, the better equipped you'll be to make decisions that align with your goals.
Exactly, and that's where we can transition into core strategies for maximizing Social Security benefits. Because understanding the nuances can really empower divorced individuals to make the most of what they're entitled to.
Definitely. Let's dive into those strategies and help our listeners take actionable steps towards securing their financial future.
So, Emily, when we're talking about Social Security for divorced individuals, it's really important to understand how those benefits work, right? You know, you can claim benefits based on your ex-spouse's record if you were married for at least 10 years.
Right, and that can really make a difference, especially for those who might not have their own substantial earnings history. But let's dive a bit deeper into how one can optimize those benefits.
Absolutely. First, if you're divorced and considering claiming benefits based on your ex's record, you should know that you can do this without them even knowing. It doesn't affect their benefits at all.
That's a great point. But when is the best time to claim those benefits? I've heard a lot about the age factor, and it can be really confusing.
Yeah, the age you choose to start claiming is crucial. If you claim benefits at your full retirement age, let's say it's 66 or 67 for most people, you'll receive the full amount you're entitled to. But if you claim earlier, say at 62, you could see a reduction of up to 30%.
Wow, that's significant. So it's really a balancing act between needing the income now versus maximizing it for later.
Exactly. And this is where understanding your financial situation and retirement goals becomes key. If you have other sources of income, like a pension or investments, you might be able to afford to wait a bit longer to claim Social Security.
Right. And if someone has a good chunk of money in their 401k or an IRA, they might consider drawing from those accounts first to delay taking Social Security. That could potentially increase the amount they receive later on.
Yeah, that's a smart strategy. By delaying, you're effectively increasing your benefits by about 8% each year until age 70. So if you can hold off, it's usually worth it in the long run.
Let's talk about tax-advantaged accounts for a moment. For those who might not know, contributing to a 401k or an IRA can really help build a nest egg. They're tax-deferred, right?
Exactly. With a traditional 401k or IRA, you put in pre-tax dollars, which reduces your taxable income for the year. Then, when you withdraw in retirement, you pay taxes on those funds.
And what about a Roth IRA? I think a lot of people find that appealing.
Yeah, the Roth IRA is a fantastic option for many. You contribute after-tax dollars, so when you withdraw in retirement, it's tax-free. This can be particularly advantageous if you anticipate being in a higher tax bracket later on.
Speaking of taxes, how important is it to have a strategy for withdrawing from these accounts? I've heard a lot about the 4% rule.
The 4% rule is a guideline suggesting that if you withdraw 4% of your retirement savings annually, your money should last for about 30 years. But it's not a one-size-fits-all. You really need to consider your own situation, like your health, lifestyle, and market conditions.
Right, so if someone has a more conservative approach and wants to ensure they don't outlive their money, they might choose to withdraw less than 4%.
Exactly. And that's where strategies like the bucket approach come in. You could create different buckets for short-term, medium-term, and long-term needs, allowing you to manage your withdrawals more effectively while keeping your investments working for you.
That makes a lot of sense. So, for instance, you might have a bucket for immediate expenses, another for the next few years, and a longer-term bucket that stays invested for potential growth.
Yes, and diversification plays a big role here too. You don't want all your investments in one area. A 70/30th portfolio. For example, 70% in stocks and 30% in bonds can help balance growth with stability.
And what about real estate? I know many retirees consider downsizing or even renting out part of their home to generate income.
Real estate can be a great asset, but it's essential to evaluate how much time and money you want to invest in managing it. It can provide steady income and potential appreciation, but it's not without its risks.
Definitely. And when it comes to annuities, I've seen mixed opinions. They can offer guaranteed income, but the fees can sometimes be a concern.
That's true. Annuities can be a useful tool for some people, especially if you want a predictable income stream in retirement. Just be sure to read the fine print regarding fees and withdrawal penalties.
So all of these strategies, Social Security optimization, tax-advantaged accounts, withdrawal strategies, and diversification, really work together to create a solid retirement plan.
Exactly. It's all about building a comprehensive strategy tailored to your unique situation. And that leads us to some common pitfalls people fall into when planning for retirement.
Oh, I can only imagine. What's the first one that comes to mind?
One big pitfall is not having a clear understanding of your expenses in retirement. People often underestimate how much they'll need, which can lead to financial strain down the road.
That's a great point. It's not just about having enough income. It's about knowing what your spending will look like, right?
Exactly. And another common mistake is failing to regularly review and adjust your retirement plan as your life circumstances change.
That's so important. Life can throw unexpected things at us, and staying flexible is key to a successful retirement plan.
Yes, and one last thing. Underestimating healthcare costs can really derail a retirement plan.
So true. Those costs can add up quickly, and it's essential to plan for them.
Right, and now that we've touched on some of these pitfalls, we can dive deeper into how to navigate around them. You know, Emily, one of the most common mistakes I see, especially among divorced individuals, is claiming Social Security too early.
Yeah, that's a big one. I think a lot of people assume they should just take it as soon as they're eligible, right?
Exactly. They might not realize that by claiming early, they're locking in a lower monthly benefit for life. I had a client, let's call her Linda, who did just that. She was eager to start receiving benefits as soon as she turned 62, thinking it would give her some immediate relief.
And what happened?
Well, she didn't consider that her ex-husband's higher earnings record could have allowed her to claim a spousal benefit, which would have been significantly higher if she had waited until her full retirement age. By jumping in early, she lost out on thousands of dollars over the years.
Ouch, that's a tough lesson.
It is. A lot of people just don't think about the long-term implications. They see the immediate cash flow and don't realize how it affects their overall retirement picture.
Right, and I imagine that's compounded by other factors, like, taxes?
Absolutely. Ignoring taxes in retirement withdrawals is another pitfall. Many folks don't realize that taking money from tax-deferred accounts like 401ks or IRAs can push them into a higher tax bracket, which affects their net income.
So if they're not careful, they could end up paying more in taxes than they expected?
Exactly. I had a client, we'll call him Mike, who was withdrawing from his retirement accounts to cover living expenses. He didn't consider how those withdrawals would impact his tax situation, and come tax season, he was hit with a hefty tax bill. It really threw off his budget for the year.
Wow, that's a wake-up call. So what's the solution here? How can someone avoid this kind of scenario?
The key is proactive planning. You really need to map out your withdrawals, considering both your income needs and tax implications. A good strategy might involve drawing from taxable accounts first, then tax-deferred, and finally, tax-free accounts like Roth IRAs.
That makes sense. It's all about the right sequence, huh?
Yes! And that brings us to sequence of returns risk. This is especially critical for retirees relying on their savings in the early years of retirement. If they experience poor market returns early on, it can devastate their portfolio.
So it's like this double whammy. Poor market performance when you're withdrawing funds can really hurt your long-term sustainability?
Exactly. I had a couple, let's call them John and Sarah, who retired just before the 2008 market crash. They were withdrawing from their investments to live on, and with the market tanking, they had to sell their assets at a loss, which really hurt their overall portfolio recovery.
That sounds really stressful. What can people do to mitigate that risk?
One strategy is to have a cash reserve or a bond allocation to cover those early retirement years. So instead of being forced to sell stocks in a down market, you can draw from safer assets.
That's a smart approach. What about healthcare? I know that can be a huge blind spot for many people.
Absolutely. Underestimating healthcare costs in retirement is a big mistake. Many folks think Medicare covers everything, but there are significant out-of-pocket costs that can add up quickly.
Right? Like premiums, deductibles, and co-pays?
Exactly. I had a client, let's call her Karen, who didn't plan for these expenses. She thought she'd be fine with Medicare alone, but when she started facing chronic health issues, her medical expenses skyrocketed. She had to tap into her retirement savings much faster than she anticipated.
That must have been tough for her. So what's a good rule of thumb for planning for healthcare costs?
A good rule is to plan for at least 15 to 20% of your retirement budget to go toward healthcare. And looking into supplemental insurance or long-term care insurance can also help mitigate that risk.
That's really practical advice, and I imagine poor asset allocation can also play a role in all of this?
Definitely. Many retirees just don't revisit their asset allocation as they age. They might be too heavily invested in stocks, which can be risky as they get closer to or enter retirement.
It's like they forget that their risk tolerance should change over time.
Yes, I had a client named Tom, who still 90% in stocks at age 70. He felt confident, but when the market took a downturn, his portfolio lost a significant amount. It was hard for him to recover emotionally and financially from that hit.
So what should people do to ensure they're properly allocated?
Regularly review your portfolio and adjust as needed. It's wise to gradually shift to a more conservative allocation as you approach retirement, focusing more on preservation than aggressive growth.
Great advice. I think it's so important to stay aware of these factors. It can be overwhelming, but recognizing red flags early on can really make a difference.
Absolutely. The key is to stay informed and proactive. If you notice any of these signs, like not having a clear withdrawal strategy or being overly reliant on one income source, it's time to reassess your plan.
That's so true, and it's never too late to seek out help from a financial advisor who can guide you through these complexities.
Exactly. A good advisor can help you navigate these challenges, ensuring you have a plan that's tailored to your unique situation.
So, to sum it all up, being mindful of these common pitfalls can really help set you up for a more secure retirement.
Yes, and taking action early can help you avoid many of these mistakes.
I think that's a great note to transition into our next steps.
So let's dive into some immediate steps that listeners can take right now to bolster their retirement plan, especially when it comes to Social Security benefits for divorced individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first step is really understanding your eligibility. If you're divorced, you might qualify for benefits based on your ex-spouse's earnings record. Checking out the Social Security Administration's website, ssa.gov, is a great place to start.
Exactly. On the SSA site, you can find a lot of useful resources, including calculators that help you estimate your benefits. It's important to gather all the necessary information about your marriage and your ex-spouse's earnings history.
And remember, you'll need your divorce decree as well as your marriage certificate to get started. It might feel a bit tedious, but it's so worth it to have that clarity.
For sure. Once you have that information, you can start projecting your future benefits. I'd recommend using some retirement calculators from companies like Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab. These tools can help you visualize not just your Social Security benefits, but your overall retirement income.
Right. And they can help you consider how your benefits fit into your full retirement strategy. It's like piecing together a puzzle, isn't it? You want to see how everything works together.
Exactly, Emily. And, while we're on the topic of tools, there are also great financial planning apps out there, like Personal Capital or Mint, that can help track your expenses and savings. It's never too late to start managing your finances more effectively.
Oh, that's a good point. Using those apps, you can set up budgets and keep an eye on your spending. It can be really eye-opening to see where your money goes each month.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about tax software. Understanding how taxes will affect your retirement income is crucial. Programs like TurboTax or H&R Block can help you navigate that.
Yes, tax considerations can be quite complex, especially with Social Security benefits, so having clarity on that can help avoid surprises down the line.
And speaking of clarity, I'd recommend running retirement projections regularly, maybe quarterly. It gives you a chance to reassess your goals and adjust your plan as needed.
That's a great habit to develop. And, just having that regular check-in with your portfolio can help you stay engaged with your retirement plan.
Right. And don't underestimate the power of education. There are fantastic books and podcasts out there focused on retirement planning.
Like what? Any favorites you'd recommend?
Well, The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins is a must-read. It breaks down investing and retirement planning in a really approachable way. And for podcasts, Choose FI dives into financial independence topics, which can be super motivating.
Oh, I love that one. And it's great for listeners who might be looking for a community around their financial journey.
Exactly. Engaging with others can really help keep you motivated. And if you have a financial advisor, make sure to have regular discussions. They can provide insights tailored to your unique situation.
That's so true. Building that relationship is key. And for divorced individuals, it's especially important to revisit your benefits and retirement strategy every few years or whenever there's a significant life change.
Yes, life changes can impact your benefits and overall financial situation. So being proactive about your retirement plan is crucial.
And I think it's also about mindset. It's never too late to improve your plan. Whether you're just starting out in your career or nearing retirement, small, consistent steps can lead to significant improvements.
Absolutely, Emily. Even if you're a few years away from retirement, taking action now can make a big difference in your financial future.
So, those are some practical first steps. Now, let's bring this all together.
Well, Emily, it's been quite a journey talking about Social Security benefits for divorced individuals.
Absolutely, David. I think we've really highlighted some important points that can make a big difference for those navigating their retirement options.
Right. First off, it's crucial to remember that divorced individuals may be eligible for benefits based on their ex-spouse's work record, which can sometimes be more advantageous than their own.
Exactly. And the fact that you can claim benefits, even if your ex hasn't yet started receiving theirs, is a key takeaway. It gives folks more flexibility in planning.
And let's not forget the importance of timing. When to claim those benefits can significantly affect how much you receive, so it's worth considering your personal situation carefully.
Definitely. Plus, we discussed that even if you remarry, your entitlement to your ex-spouse's benefits can still be intact, which is something many may not realize.
Yeah, and that's a big point. It's all about understanding your options and making informed decisions.
And that leads us to the bigger picture of building and protecting retirement wealth. It's about being proactive and ensuring you have the right information to secure your future.
Absolutely. The more informed you are, the better choices you can make, and that can really make a difference in your retirement experience.
So if you found today's discussion helpful, please like, subscribe, and share your biggest takeaway or any questions in the comments. And don't forget to share this episode with anyone you know who's planning for or already in retirement.
It really helps us reach more people who could benefit from this information.
And next time, we'll dive into how to build a FIRE portfolio step by step, which is super exciting.
Yeah, it's a great topic, so be sure to tune in for that.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
Take care, everyone.
Bye for now.